All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us for our lunchtime court update. We have Judges Emily Sheldrick and Judge Kelli Osler to present for us this afternoon updates happening in their respective courts. Before we get going, I want to remind everyone that there is a link to sign up for CLE credits. So that link is in the chat box. There's a Google list. If you could just pull that open and make sure that you sign in so you can get credit for this as well. And without further ado, we're going to get going. I'm going to introduce first Judge Emily Sheldrick from Superior Court. Judge Sheldrick.
Okay, thank you so much and good morning, everyone. I want to give a few updates. First of all, even though the pandemic continues, we are doing our jury trials, both civil and criminal. We've made some modifications to how we're doing that, but everyone has to wear a mask. We do social distancing to the extent we can. And we're, so far it seems to be going well. We used to be having the jurors sitting in the gallery, but we've moved them back to being in the jury box. And so far that's working very well. So we're frequently, occasionally we try to spread out the jurors when they're deliberating, try to use a different courtroom. So we try to do certain things to make the process easier for the jurors. So jury trials are happening. We also have a couple updates on our criminal dockets. So right now we're noticing that the plea dockets are being underutilized, often at 50% of capacity. So readiness dockets remain very lengthy, although this week they're not as lengthy because next week, of course, is a holiday week. But in general, the readiness dockets are so lengthy that we have to split them up. So obviously we want to try to run those dockets as efficiently as we can. So that means we're really asking and emphasizing the need for speedy trial waivers to be addressed well in advance of the readiness hearing. We've set up a procedure, and what we need from the practitioners is not to present those speedy trial waivers for the first time during the docket. They really need to be provided well in advance, and specifically no later than 10 a.m. on Thursday morning. That way, indigent defense, and we're asking them to be provided to Matt Kimball with indigent defense so that they can be provided to the judge that's handling a readiness docket, or both judges, in one packet. Because one of the things that we're seeing is that when they come in sporadically, the judges are already getting prepped for readiness and don't know that a speedy trial waiver's been filed or is going to be filed. So we really need that information in advance. So this is the policy of all the judges in Superior Court, to get those speedy trial waivers in by 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, no later than that. We really would like them more in advance of Thursday, but that's the deadline that we're requesting. We also are continuing to do the Blake resentencings or vacations of judgment, that we have adopted a procedure for that for 7.8 motions. And so far that seems to be going well. We continue to work with indigent defense representatives on a smooth process for how to keep those hearings efficiently handled. And we are looking for pro tems. We are probably going to be announcing, I'm guessing, so wait probably till the beginning of January, we're going to be posting on our website some parameters that we're looking for pro tem applicants. So stay tuned for more information on that. Hopefully that'll be on the Superior Court website by January. I also wanted to mention that Superior Court has hired a consultant with the National Center for State Courts. So what this is we've hired a consultant to analyze and evaluate the judicial caseload, our backlogs, and calendar assignments. We're looking for an evaluation and recommendations on the distribution of the workload among the judges, and better calendaring methods, other ways to create efficiencies in our workload, docketing, etc. So we're really excited about this consultant. The timeline is fairly lengthy because the consultant is going to be doing interviews, site visits, data review, etc. We're hoping for a final report by the end of June. And of course, with that information, then the bench will be considering whether to in fact adopt some of the recommendations provided by the consultant. So long-term planning is in the works, and we're hoping that that information will help the bench with our calendaring and workload issues. So a couple other updates, as those of you who do unlawful detainers know, we have an unlawful detainer docket that is handled on Thursday and Friday afternoons with Judge Gregerson. And again, because of all the changes and updates in that area of law, we're still not exactly sure how that docket will be managed in the future, but this is the process for now. If practitioners have ex parte matters that need to be handled as residential unlawful detainers, they are to go to Judge Gregerson. But if it's a commercial unlawful detainer action, that goes to the assigned department or the normal ex parte process. And let's see, finally, some of you may have heard that and I have a couple other, I'm looking at my notes. Let's move on to the status of liberty. So some of you may know the clerk's office is updating their electronic filing system. I believe they are doing away with liberty at some point. However, Superior Court doesn't really have a lot of information about this, except to know that the clerk's office is looking at some timelines, I believe next year. So if you have any questions about the electronic filing system, when those changes are to go into place, what that system will look like, if at all it's going to be different from Liberty, I don't know. Please direct your questions to the clerk's office. The Superior Court is not really aware at this point of what those changes are going to look like and when they'll go into effect. So if you've heard about changes, please bring that to the attention of the clerk's office. Let's see, one other update. We are asking that if the Superior Court is going to have and this isn't true necessarily for all departments, but I encourage practitioners to check in with your department. If you're going to have a trial being called ready, you're planning to go to trial, either civil or criminal, I would encourage you to reach out to your assigned department and see if there's an interest in having any pretrial motions heard the week before trial starts. And the reason why some departments, including myself, are looking to do that is because we're finding that the jury selection process on Monday, it takes some time, and we'd like to try to make that process more efficient for the jurors who have to be in the courthouse. So we'd like to try to handle as many pretrial motions as we can the week before. So I certainly encourage you to reach out to your assigned departments for your cases and see if there's a way to schedule a special hearing the week before trial to handle pretrial motions. Okay, so I think that's the list that I had. I don't know if there's any questions, Ms. Emmerich, if there's possibility in the chat, if people have some specific questions that I may be able to answer.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the chat right now. I don't see any questions yet, but if anyone has anything for Judge Sheldrick.
Well, I'll just hang on the call, of course, and pass this on to Judge Osler. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Judge. And Judge Osler.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I think I know just about everybody, and hopefully, oops, I just somehow cut off my video. There we go. And I'm the presiding judge in district court. So just some updates from us. I probably, camera never looks right at me. I probably relayed this last time we were in a meeting, and hopefully everybody knows about it now, but starting in January, we're doing almost a total revamping of our schedule. So we're going to be doing a 6-week rotation instead of having one judge assigned to only hear domestic violence cases. They'll be spread out amongst the 6 of us. So we're going to try to keep cases together that the same defendant might have. So we might be able to track some of those together at this time. We'll stay with one judge as best as we can. We realize that some cases might need to get reassigned while we're rotating into this new schedule to align with the new schedule and to accommodate speedy trial. And those new calendars should now be on the website. We've tried to keep the calendars as consistent as possible so that depending on what week the judge is on in the rotation, it should look fairly identical to another judge's when they're on that same week or doing that same rotation. We are still looking at, because nobody knows when we'll be at the end of the COVID period, remote versus in-person hearings. Remote will stay in some form or another. We're not planning on changing that, but we do want to have a plan when we can start integrating some dockets into live hearings. And we'll keep you up to date on that. And we'll be watching the COVID numbers as we go into the new year. We do plan on resuming a regular bench bar meetings after the first of the year, probably to align similar to what Superior Court has going. And we will email, or you can email us if you have something you want to talk about or topic of interest that you feel that needs to be on that bench bar meeting for that particular month. We have had requests from attorneys because there's been some forms that you haven't had access to. The one I can think of specifically is deferred prosecution orders. We didn't want to just put that on our website because it is a court order for anybody to just grab and do whatever. So we are, there's going to be a system in our e-filing system, which can be accessed by attorneys only. And you'll be able to find deferred prosecution orders, change of plea forms, and other orders there. And it's my understanding there will be instructions sent out to the attorneys next week on that. So I think you guys are familiar with the e-filing system. We wanted to make these forms accessible for attorneys. And then last time I think I thought, or I was hopeful that on-base will also be switching from Liberty to on-base, as Judge Sheldrick had just mentioned the clerks will be doing, because Liberty is at end of life. And District Court can't get onto Odyssey now for another couple of years. So there will be a switch a couple of years out as well. But for the in-between, between Liberty and Odyssey, will be on base. And March 31st is now the targeted completion date. And I was told by my court administrator today that there will be bar training in early February on the new system. The judges haven't been trained yet either, so we're waiting for that and hoping we don't have too many crashes with Liberty between now and then. We also had recently a meeting that a number of you probably attended, that there's going to be some changes in our probation model and how we're going to be assigning cases, and fees that might be imposed are going to be different than what they were in the past. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to Brian Farrell at the probation department, and or anybody on that probation team, which specifically was Judge Slate and Judge Langsdorf. So if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to those folks. Also, much like last year, we have gotten together and we're going to have some strategic action committees. The innovation team was the team that brought to you kind of the changes that you're going to be looking at the beginning of the year as far as our schedules. This upcoming year, I anticipate that the innovation team will also be looking at a lot of technology because of our switch to on-base. We like to take a look at our website and make sure it is as user-friendly as possible. So we'll be giving you updates, and then if there's comments or questions or concerns, I'll give you those team members at a future date, and you can reach out if you're not contacted directly. The probation pretrial and community restitution, or what some folks know as also includes work crew, is going to be a combined group with those team members I just mentioned to you. And we will be still working on the probation model and the pretrial issues, but also really looking and focusing on our work crew program as well, and seeing if we can't make that better accessible, if there's ways we can improve how we run that program. We've not had this before, but we are going to be having a civil team, which will be Judge Langsdorf and I, and we're going to be looking at everything civil. So we do anticipate, or we will appreciate input from our civil attorneys on anything from forms or processes or anything we need to know. We're going to be looking at that. We will have an employee appreciation group, which will focus on employee appreciation in our office, in our agency. We'll have a diversity inclusion group. We do have a group that touches on what Judge Sheldrick was talking about. I don't think we have a lot of Blake cases that will be affected, but they're going to be looking at that, making sure we have the proper process and we're doing everything we should be doing. But more importantly, they made a lot of changes to the protection orders and that are going to be coming up and coming into effect. Some are already in place, some are going to be coming out. So we'll have, they'll be looking at that, making sure we're doing that. They're going to be addressing, there'll be an infraction group. They'll be addressing everything having to do with infractions. So, and then community court, which will hopefully help some of our homeless population and maybe be able to divert some matters out of the criminal system. So again, we're looking at increasing our access to our courts, and these teams will be up and running, and we'll try to give as many updates on the work that they're doing and getting as much input from the bar as possible moving forward. And that is all I have as well. So I don't know if there's any questions on any of that.
If anyone has any questions for either Judge Sheldrick or Judge Osler, welcome to put that in the chat. While we are waiting, I will just remind everyone that we have mock trial is coming up in February. This year, it's going to be February 15th, 16th, and 17th. It's going to be virtual. If you want to participate, of course, please email Commissioner Sasser, and she will get you all set up to help out for mock trial this year. And also, I will remind you that Inns of Court is starting up. It actually started up a couple months ago, but it's not too late to join. And if you are interested, the next meeting for Inns of Court is going to be held January 19th. That's also going to be virtual. So later on today, we have an ethics CLE that is scheduled to start at 2 o'clock. It's 3 hours. It goes, the first section is going to be, sorry, making sure my computer is plugged in. I got a battery low, sorry, panicked. We are going to do 3 hours of ethics CLE this afternoon, starting at 2 o'clock. The first hour is going to be focusing on issues out of Oregon. So if you're a practitioner there, that will be important for you. You'll receive your credits that are needed for your Oregon State Bar license as well. Then we are going to have some ethics brought to us by Judge Snyder, as well as Judge Parcher and Judge Rostinas this afternoon. So starting at 2 o'clock, it's not too late to sign in or sign up for that if you need your ethics credits, which you need them by into the next 2 weeks. So join us for that. If anyone has any questions for our judges that are here today, please let me know. We'll wait another second. I have a few people who are typing. All right, so it looks like no questions for our judges. Again, thank you to Judge Sheldrick for your updates on Superior Court, and thank you, Judge Osler, for bringing us all the updates in District Court. One question that I did have is, Judge Osler, when were those bench bar meetings going to start up again, if you guys had a schedule in mind?
We were going to start them up in January, and I guess we'll probably be later in the month. So I've got to come up with if it's going to be like the third Wednesday, for instance, or the third Tuesday or whatever, because we'd like to follow it after a judges meeting, so that if there's updates from our judges meetings, we'll be able to impart that on the bar.
Okay, so we're planning then maybe monthly meetings, and are those going to be over Zoom or in person?
I would. I have so many
Sorry.
questions. I would anticipate maybe Zoom, but we'll keep you updated. We'll send out a flyer, probably ask to post it in the bar news as soon as we get those dates available.
Perfect, thank you. And if
I think
anyone else
I only wanted to add one more thing, which is that if attorneys do have some feedback that they want to give to our consultant on how court dockets are run, or other feedback on the procedures, they can provide that information to our court administrator, and I can put her email in the chat so people have that.
Thank you, Judge Sheldrick, and that would be Ms. Stone. All right. So Cheryl Stone at clark.wa.gov. Her email is now in the chat box. She is our new court administrator, and she can relay any thoughts or ideas that you might have to our Superior Court bench, and then their new consultant.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Judge Sheldrick, and thank you, Judge Osler.
Thank you.
Thank you, judges.